I'm Mark Loftus, editor of Post, and in this Post TV podcast, I'm speaking with Alvin Renz, who's the VP of Research and Development at View, as well as Carl Fligger, who is PNY's NVIDIA Pro and Data Center GPU Marketing Manager. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you.
Glad you could join us. Alvin, we're talking a little bit about virtual production in this podcast. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about View, what you guys do, and some of the workflow upgrades that you've been doing.
Yeah, so View is, as we call it, we're trying to create a network of studio. So right now we have 4 different virtual stages across the United States, and the biggest one is here in Orlando, Florida. And the infrastructure of our technology when powering this large volume, especially for ICVFX, finding the right workflow and finding the right technology to push this industry is very crucial. So it's something that we really look at and then make sure that all of our system is working together. Also, especially when you talked about creating that network of studios, interconnecting them all together is something that you have to plan out and make sure that everything is working correctly.
Mm-hmm. You guys are doing in-camera VFX where what you're shooting ultimately is going to appear and there'll be less post-production on the back end.
Correct. So or specifically focus on the in-camera VFX, which is the ICVFX virtual production. And with that, give an example for here in Orlando, we have 8 cluster nodes that's powering up the wall because our stage resolution is 2000 by 16,000 wide. So powering that requires a lot of GPU, especially in real-time rendering. And that's where we found that the A6000, the RTX A6000, really helps us achieve that. Not only that, it has more GPU memory and then power on it, but it also has the ability to sync them together, which is specifically important for multi-cluster rendering for ICVFX.
Yeah. How many systems do you have, and how did you become aware of this? Obviously, virtual production, it's one of the newer technologies out there. It's not so new that people don't know about it, but how did you go about finding out what solutions would work for what your demands were going to be?
So we first started, when we started, we begin with just me bringing my computer, my personal computer actually, and then just playing around with the idea of this after we saw The Mandalorian and when they showcased the ICVFX. I think a lot of people are actually got surprised and then really inspired to see another outlet or to see another tool to let our creatives in filmmaking. It unlocks a lot of those ideas, especially for me as a DP. I was a DP before this. I always try to look for something that makes my picture interesting, and how can I bring something faster or something quicker or something different that you can't do before. So that's ICVFX allows us to do that, and we started with a very small wall in Tampa and tried to figure out what is the best workflow for that. And then we just kept adding. As soon as we found out that this workflow is going to work, when we saw the look in the camera, we're all blown away by it, and we got more into it. So we started building more computers, moved to different studios, and then next thing you know, I find myself trying to build all these computers. We started to look for someone that could help us, especially at this rate, because we were moving fast. After the pandemic, we're just building studios pretty much, because we started during the pandemic, right after the pandemic, for our first studio, and now we have 4 studios, and we built probably 6 or 8 studios from other customers as well. So we needed a system that's gonna work, that we could trust. We need with a partner, that integrator that could help us put this system cluster nodes together that we could trust and that could support us and also work with us as we figure out this this technology. So that's where we got Puget System for the computer. We trust them in terms of what they benchmark for us and what they recommend in terms of a system specification that we would use for the use case of our for over volume, and then the outcome of that for the processing power is the A6000, the RTX A6000. Still, yeah, right now until up to now.
Carl, I wanted to bring you in. Why is the RTX platform so well suited for virtual production?
Well, first, it can drive the LED bulks required at resolutions, 4K, 5K, 6K, 8K, 10-bit color, not a problem. So you've got the ability to drive the visual components of a virtual production setup. You also have the compute performance. If you're doing simulations, you want them to be realistic, physics-based, rather than have artists, kind of budget. The board can be doing that simultaneously with the graphics. Rendering is also increasingly important, and these products have dedicated cores, RT, ray tracing cores. Will let you have cinematic quality ray tracing, again, to drive the virtual set environment. And finally, artificial intelligence, where you can combine that with ray tracing techniques to very rapidly fill in the gaps through a technique called AI denoising. I'd also like to point out that there's a tremendous difference in the amount of memory on the card. In this case, 48 gigabytes of GDDR6, which allows you to have, extremely sophisticated models, extremely complex textures, running simultaneously with necessary simulations or even elements of AI, all in GPU memory, which lowers latency and gives the fastest possible results for companies like VU and systems integrators like Puget. I should also point out that the product longevity of these cards is important. Quadro, a typical card, has a lifespan of at least 3 years, some cases as many as 5. Boards like the RTX A6000 are eligible for a long lifecycle program. So you're making a tremendous infrastructure investment, and you can be guaranteed if you need to buy more of the same product, it will be available. Which isn't the case with consumer offerings. The last thing I'd like to say is, after all these RTX A6000 superlatives, we've got the NVIDIA RTX 6000 Ada generation on the horizon. So in the December-January timeframe, Puget and VU will be able to experience, everybody uses the term quantum leap, literally a quantum leap in performance when you look at what the Ada Lovelace architecture brings to the table vis-a-vis the current NVIDIA Ampere.
Alvin, you've showed me a little bit offline about some of the work that you guys have done. For our audience who wants to know a little more about VU, do you have a website that we could direct them to?
Yes. So for anyone interested in finding what we do and, want to learn more about the virtual production in general, you could head to View.network. That you could see our work in there. You can see the way that we use ICVFX and what is ICVFX. We also do a lot of trainings and trying to bring this to a lot of people in terms of the education. So yeah.
Great. Carl, how about some of our audience that might want to find out more about PNY? Where would they have to go?
Visit www.pny.com, and you'll see a category of professional products. And under that, you'll see our workstation class, our NVIDIA RTX boards. You'll also see data center counterparts like the NVIDIA A40, which if you wanted to run graphics, simulation, etc., from a centralized data center environment, would also be suitable for virtual production use.
Great. I want to thank both of you for taking some time to speak with us on this Post TV podcast.
You're very welcome. Our pleasure.
Thanks again, guys.